What's up, y'all? So Panasonic has inspired today's video on What the Frame because they finally dropped a new camera. When I say finally dropped a new camera, let me get around here and rephrase it. They finally dropped a new camera with phase detect autofocus. Now let's be clear here. Before we even get started with, my thoughts on this camera and my true thoughts on the camera, I want to say this out the gate. Number one, the fact that this camera is only $2,000, is full frame, has all of these video recording features in it, has shutter angle, a vent to keep the camera cool, outstanding Ibis, usable autofocus, anamorphic support, 6K, open gate. Also forgot to add, you can actually do recording through an SSD, which, there's no Sony camera that can do that now. So, I mean, again, for two bands, what can you pick apart about this camera? And I got a gripe or two, but overall, this is a solid camera, especially for content creators. And I would even argue for some, video production companies out there as well. Honestly, if I wasn't heavily invested to the Sony ecosystem, Panasonic, especially with this new S5 and S5 Mark II, especially with this new S5 II and S5 IIX, these would be some cameras I look at. Now, speaking of S5 IIX, that's one of my gripes. We're gonna get to that in a second. But nonetheless, it's a fantastic camera. So before we get deep into it, for all my OGs who in the building, go ahead and give me that thumbs up now. And I'm curious out the gate for all of y'all. This question goes to all of y'all. Are y'all grabbing the new S5 now with the new usable autofocus, or y'all still sitting still for the new cameras that's gonna come out later in 2023? I'm curious. Let me know right now. Let's get into some of the other things about this new lumix camera that you all should be aware of. Number one, before the camera came out, I did a video about this previously. Panasonic had made this bold claim and said that their autofocus is going to be better than Sony's and Canon's. Stop. Cap. Bro, again, your first time in the gym hitting some free throws, you're not going to come out shooting better than Steph Curry, okay? Yes, your autofocus is great. It's very good. It's very usable. But, again, dog, you've been putting up, if you've been 0 for 15 every game and then you decide to finally come out and start putting up some buckets, don't come out with, holding your nuts like that, okay? Panasonic, chill. You hit a couple of free throws, hit a couple of threes, you in the game now, but again, you're just in the game. Sony and Canon, they've been shooting in the gym crazy the whole time. So, just pay a little more respect to that. On top of that, the great autofocus that you have can't be used on some higher frame rate modes. It's like, Panasonic, bro, don't sit there and, have me get all hyped and signed up for y'all new autofocus, and then y'all gonna sit there and give it the cripple hammer for certain higher frame rate modes. Just come on, babe. If you gonna come out phase tech, give me phase tech all the way through, babe. People been waiting for this for years, since the GH5, the GH4, the G7s. At the very least, if you're gonna come out with phase tech, don't come out with half-ass phase tech. Come out with phase tech fully, so it can be used in all frame rates, like Sony camera. And to me, that's kind of where Sony still kind of has a leg up on most cameras. Even right now with the Sony A7S3. Yes, the Lumix S5 Mark II is $2,000, but you can find the A7S3 at this point for sometimes damn near for under $2,000 or around $2,000. In which you get a camera that does full frame everything, no crop, which we're gonna get to in a second, and it has usable autofocus in all modes. None of that, certain autofocus in certain modes bullcrap. No. And to me, that's kind of one of the non-starters for me, at least with this S5 camera. Don't get me wrong, this S5 camera is phenomenal. Again, it does 4K 422 in all, in all recordings and all flavors. Even though you got to pay an extra $200 to get another camera that's in the same body, same specs to get all intra, but whatever. To me, in 2023, there should be not a single camera that comes out that's full frame that has a crop in 4K 60. That's just a non-starter out the gate for me. And especially Panasonic, if you want people to kind of jump Sony ship to kind of come over, let's just say if this camera was to have 4K 60 full frame, I think you'd have had a lot more people interested into their body and switching over from Sony to Panasonic just because of all your video features. But for somebody like me who shoots weddings and shoot 4K 60 the entire time at weddings, I can't have a crop. Also, I do love the fact that it has dual native ISO, and people clown the Sony A7S3's dual native ISO for being too high, but 12,800, this is one of the only cameras that you can shoot 4K 60, at a dual native ISO and still have clean usable footage. Not saying you don't have clean usable footage in other cameras, but what I am saying is it's going to look better versus using a dual native ISO around ISO 4000. If you still need to kind of crank up past 4000, you want to use 4K 60, especially in a crop mode on the S5, your footage be kind of grainy. So I actually love the fact that Sony implemented 12,800 because it gives me higher frame rate, availability in low light, unlike some cameras. Also, speaking on Lumix S5, right? You know, another gripe of mine is the fact that they can have two bodies. You got one, the S5 Mark II, and then the S5 Mark II X, which the S5 Mark II X, you get Apple ProRes, you get like web streaming capabilities, you get full vlog without having to pay for, you know, the upgrade. Come on, Panasonic. And then also you get like all inch recording. Now, bro, again, you telling me for $200, you have to create a whole nother camera versus just putting in the camera that's already there? What sense does that make? That's just called pointless dumb shit right there, Panasonic. You could have easily put those same features in that camera and just said, okay, this camera's $2,100. And people still would have bought it. It ain't like what you sitting here making, you know what I'm saying? Like now you got this other camera that's $2,200. You got this camera that's not, you know what I'm saying, $2,000 versus kind of meet in the middle. That'd have been just like the perfect mesh up. The perfect mesh up right there. And you decided to just make two different bodies that shoots damn near exactly the same. Like, I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But overall, so we don't get it twisted, I think the S5 Mark II is a phenomenal camera. I do plan on renting this camera like with a, you know what I'm saying, with a Panasonic or a Sigma lens. That's kind of tested out myself from Lens Rentals. If y'all do use lensrentals.com, use coupon code Brooks15 to get 15% off. I want to test this camera out for myself just because I'm a huge Panasonic fan. GH5 was my baby, my first true love that made me fall in love with using cameras in the first place. So I feel like I at least got to give Panasonic that honor. But as far as me like switching over, no. You know what I'm saying? And also in comparison to like something like that Sony A7 IV, if we take a look at that camera, I think the S5 does beat out the A7 IV in some categories, but some categories it don't. But I do feel like they're a direct head-to-head competitor. But I feel like honestly, just for the price point alone, some people, if you are looking for a new camera and if you're not married to any system, I probably would have you maybe lean towards the S5, especially if you're a video streamer, you get more features. But then again, Sony's ecosystem with lenses, you can't beat that. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you can go either way. Nonetheless, great job, Panasonic. I'm looking forward to testing this camera out. Also, make sure you all stay tuned in, subscribe to the channel. I got music video breakdowns coming. Companies have been sending me shit to review. We got a light that we got to review. A LUT we got to review. We got a whole bunch of stuff we got to go over. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. It's your boy Sean B, and I'm out, man. Deuces.